After that last video, I felt like I needed to lay low, so I've been hanging out in this abandoned building in the woods. But that's no excuse for the content to stop. So today, already I've got another game review, which I was kind of surprised about. So first of all those guys in my comments saying that I was retiring from YouTube and quitting game reviews and I'm unsubbing because I don't know. I bet you look real stupid right now. So I was going through my email the other day, like a professional, and what do I see but an email from Fabraz, the developer of Demon Turf, one of the greatest 3D platformers of all time, which I have done a full 20-minute review of right over here that you can watch. And what that email said was, hey, we're working on a standalone DLC for Demon Turf. Would you like a super secret early access Steam key, sir? And I said yes. So just in case you haven't seen my original review for Demon Turf, one of the greatest 3D platformers of all time, here's a little bit of a recap. Like I mentioned in my secret hideout, Demon Turf is a 3D platformer developed by Fabraz and his team. It's an incredibly well-made game with tight controls, amazing level design, and a very unique art style. By building on the foundation that classic 3D platforming masterpieces like Super Mario 64 laid down, Demon Turf was able to become one of the best 3D platformers to be released recently. I would honestly probably give it second place right under Super Mario Odyssey. Demon Turf is a deceptively long and very content-dense game. It took me just over 50 hours to get 100% completion, which is absolutely enormous for a 3D platformer. Demon Turf is an amazing game, and if you even passively enjoy 3D platformers, buying it at its full price, which is only $25, is borderline robbery. We are robbing this man. If you want a more detailed analysis on Demon Turf itself, I will once again recommend my original full review and analysis, which you can find on my channel. Moving on from the short recap of Demon Turf, let's get into the new release and the actual topic of this video, Demon Turf Neon Splash. Neon Splash is a standalone DLC. Now, some of you might be thinking, what the fuck is a standalone DLC? Basically, this is a DLC that runs as a totally separate game and experience from the original and is launched in its own client. You can think of it as a miniature sequel. It's DLC that doesn't require the original game in order to run. Neon Splash is still very much the Demon Turf experience, though. It essentially adds one extra game world to the original game, but this time it has 10 levels instead of the original 7, and of course, just like in the original game, each level has a remix that is the same level, but modified to the point of being a completely different experience, effectively giving us 19 levels. I mentioned this in my original review for Demon Turf, but it bears repeating here. This strategy of recycling existing levels into entirely new ones is absolutely genius in terms of efficient use of dev time and assets. Maybe if more developers came up with creative ideas on how to manage their dev time a little bit better, we wouldn't have to wait half a decade for a sequel to come out. Some differences you're going to notice in Demon Turf Neon Splash, beyond the slight visual upgrades and much more intense post-processing, are slight changes in how platforming mechanics are approached. In the original Demon Turf, you have access to 4 abilities that are unlocked over the course of the game. You have the Serpent Wheel form for when you need to go fast, we have the Grappling Hook, which lets you grapple certain objects, we have the Bird form that lets you glide pretty much indefinitely for extremely long distances, and we have the Time Stop. Also, as an honorable mention, your Water form lets you swim around in levels that are water-themed. In Neon Splash, all of these abilities have been streamlined to give the level design a more pure platforming direction. The Time Stop and the Grappling Hook have been completely removed, and now the Snake Tire has its own dedicated button. The Bird form also has its own dedicated button, and it's now used as a glide dash. I suppose it's somewhat similar to the way diving works in Mario games. And finally, the water sections have been removed. The grappling hook was a fun upgrade in Demon Turf, but it also didn't do much other than let you travel set grappling hook pathways. There weren't a lot of movement options with the hook, so seeing it go isn't that big of a deal. Time Stop was a fun gimmick, but it also resulted in a lot of sections having sort of weird pacing, so I don't really miss it much either. And now that the Snake Tire and the Glide Move have dedicated buttons, they are much more accessible to use, and it's much easier to build entire levels around them than before. In the original Demon Turf, all 4 of your unlockable abilities were bound to the same button, and you needed to bring up this wheel to switch between them mid-gameplay, which was fine and worked, but always did feel a little odd. With the streamlining done in Neon Splash, this is gone. Now we have a much more coherent, slightly simplified version of Demon Turf's original systems, and we can go extremely hard on tightly designed classical 3D platforming levels that rely purely on excellent movement through linear level design, and that's exactly what Neon Splash does. Don't get me wrong, gliding around the larger levels in the original Demon Turf was fun, and this is also one of the only platformers ever made where all of the water levels are good, but there's nothing like blasting through fire-ass linear platforming sequences, and that is the idea Neon Splash focuses on. On top of the enhanced platforming experience, we still have all of the collectible items and secrets you would expect from the original game, and speedrun bonus objectives like timed trophies. There are also new modifiers to moves you can experiment with. You've got one row of modifications up here you can choose from that will change your moveset slightly, and another row down here. Much like the average American housewife in the suburbs, you can only choose one upper and one downer at a time. Choose wisely. If this is the direction that Demon Turf is going for its inevitable sequel, I think it's a good one. And if you enjoyed the original Demon Turf, then this bonus release, which is only going to run you $5, is definitely worth your time. I loved every second of the 4 hours I spent going absolutely apeshit on Neon Splash to 100% clear it for this video, and I am very much looking forward to how good the inevitable true sequel to Demon Turf is going to be. I can only imagine what this team is going to accomplish with their next truly ambitious entry to the series. Let's check back in on Abandoned Building, Jacob. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about Demon Turf and Demon Turf Neon Splash. It truly is an incredible game. It's got a lot of content. What is that? It took me like 50 or 60 hours or something to 100% complete the first game. Completely worth the money. Buy it. And then buy the standalone DLC for only $4.99 or $5.99 or whatever it is. Also, guess what? I'm still partnered with GOG, dumbass, and the original Demon Turf is available on GOG. But if you'd like to support me and support the channel, go on down to the comments and use that GOG link to buy Demon Turf. One of the greatest 3D platformers ever made. And just to clear up a little bit of confusion from the last video, I'm not quitting YouTube. I'm not quitting gaming content. We're trying to transcend. We're trying to do better. We're trying to be more interesting. We're trying to hang out in abandoned buildings in the woods and see little graffiti penises on the wall. That's what we're trying to do here. So, subscribe, like, comments, do the bell. That's a really big one. And Probably Jacob at ProbablyJacob.io on Twitter, twitch.com/ProbablyJacobLive, patreon.com/ProbablyJacob, where for as little as $2 a month, you too can experience the majesty of exclusive podcast content. And the podcast is everywhere where you can find podcasts, except for Spotify. Don't worry about it. Anyway, here's a nice little credits screen of all the people who are on my Patreon right now. See you in the next video.